Coming up next on the SPNN Forum, we have Amino and Alicia Wiseneth from Minnesota Landmarks to talk about upcoming programs at the Landmark Center. Hi, I'm Martin Ludden, Executive Director of St. Paul Neighborhood Network, and we are here live in the Kwame McDonald studio at SPNN, talking to Amy Mino and Alicia Wiseneth of Minnesota Landmarks to talk about what's happening at Landmark Center downtown St. Paul. Amy, Alicia, welcome to the forum.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about your organization and kind of how you work with Landmark Center, the building?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Minnesota Landmarks, our organization, was founded in 1970, so 50 years old.
Wow.
We passed that in 2020. And it was started to save the old federal courts building, which is Landmark Center, now called Landmark Center. And it started with the mayor of St. Paul putting together a committee called the Committee to Save the Old Federal Courts Building.
Very catchy title.
Very catchy, yeah. And they raised the money to renovate the building in the 70s and turn it into a center for the arts.
It's hard to believe that now it's such a kind of a central part of downtown, and that there was a chance 50 years ago. I'm also of that school that like everything is 2000. It's like 50 years ago is 1950, but it's not. 50 years ago was 1970. But that we could have lost it.
Yes.
Like it would have just been flattened and
it could have been a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yes, that was very real. And then the word leaked out and the papers picked it up and there was an outcry.
Okay.
So luckily that didn't happen. Yeah. People say that to us today when they're walking through the building. I can't believe they thought about tearing this building down, but they really did, and they were doing that to a lot of places, especially in downtown St. Paul in the 1960s.
Right. And I think so, for my part, I've been to, a couple weddings there. I've been to some events down in the basement. I've been to some kids and family events. So what is the building now? It was a federal courthouse. It is now kind of a cultural and arts center. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how does that, what are you guys working with there?
So again, I mentioned that the vision was that it would become a center for the arts and a home for the arts. We have a lot of nonprofit arts and cultural organizations in the building who would do programming then in the building and open it up to the public. So it was owned by the federal government, so it had to be passed down to a local government. So Ramsey County actually owns it, and they have taken care of the building ever since. They've provided an allocation to our organization to care for the building, and that's been going on since it opened in 1978.
Yeah. And Amy, you're the executive director of Minnesota Landmarks. How long have you been doing that?
Quite a while. I took over in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's well put. And Alicia, you're the community programs director.
Correct.
What kind of programming are you running for the community?
We have a lot of different programming that we do. Most of it is free and low cost for the programs. We have our Sundays at Landmark programs, which is probably our biggest umbrella of programming that we do. And that's all free, low cost to the public. So there's a lot of kids programs and family-centered programs
and
for that one.
Every Sunday? Is there something happening?
It's not every Sunday, but a lot of the Sundays. Okay. We're there a lot of the Sundays.
Nice. And what do you have coming up soon?
Yep. So we just started our series with Mid-Autumn Moon Festival a couple of weeks ago, and that always kind of launches our Sundays at Landmark series. So coming up, we have Light in the Well, which is a multisensory concert for people with disabilities, which is a new program that we're doing in our auditorium space this year.
What is a multisensory concert?
So it's a good question. So they're going to be doing music and singing and some audio visuals and video as well, kind of all at the same time. So there's a lot of different ways to really interact and engage with the program.
Gotcha.
So we're doing that in partnership with a couple of different organizations. So
very cool. So the idea being, maybe if you don't hear the music as well, there are also things
right.
Gotcha.
To see.
Very cool. So you've got that concert coming up. What other kind of things do we have as part of the Sunday programming?
Sure. So we have a long-standing partnership with St. Paul Civic Symphony. So we have been programming with them for over 30 years. And they're fantastic and do wonderful concerts that fill up the first floor of Landmark Center. So we have our first concert for that coming up in a couple of weeks. Cool. And then they also have concerts in January and then with a Mother's Day concert every year. So
nice.
It's been a long-standing tradition and we love having them. They're great partners for us.
I didn't know that there was always a Mother's Day concert.
Yep.
Yeah,
Surprise.
we have
a lot going on. So.
Yeah.
And that one is always just beautiful music to celebrate moms and that day. And then we have our Halloween event, Great Pumpkin Festival, coming up too at the end of October for Sundays at Landmark, which is a great opportunity for families and kids to come in and try out the kids' costumes and not have a jacket or parka or hats and gloves on and be able to dance to a DJ and all of that business. So that's at the end of October.
Right on. Cool. So that's kind of your Sunday programming. I think there's also, you do plays, right?
We do. We do an annual history play, and it changes every year. It's a different premise every year. This year is on Alvin Creepy Carpus, and he had a very interesting and storied past, but those performances are October 6th, 7th, and 9th down in our auditorium space. And we have judges and lawyers that join us for that, and they just love taking off, their robes and donning their acting caps and really taking the stage and whatnot. So we have that coming up as well.
Cool. And so Creepy Carpus, that's part of kind of St. Paul's sordid gangster past, right?
He is. Amy, you know more about the history of Creepy than I do.
Yeah, so Alvin Creepy Carpus, he hated the name Creepy. Alvin Carpus was part of the Barker Carpus gang, and the Barker boys and Ma Barker, they kind of have a storied history in St. Paul. They had a hideout up in White Bear Lake. And basically, they could come to St. Paul and not worry about being arrested or harassed because there was a system, the O'Connor system, with the police department.
So as long as you weren't doing crimes in St. Paul, you were okay to hang out.
Exactly.
That's kind of the deal, right?
Yeah. And it actually ended up all falling apart when they started kidnapping local citizens. And actually, there was just a really awful murder in South St. Paul of a police officer, and the Barker Carpus gang was involved with that too. Gotcha. So that kind of ended up becoming the beginning of the end. Yeah. And Carpus then was actually apprehended by the FBI, and he was brought to Landmark Center to face trial for the kidnapping of Bremer, Edward Bremer. Yeah. And they had him chained to a radiator in our detention room on the third floor of Landmark Center before they brought him into the courtroom, Landmark Center's largest courtroom at the kind of north end of the building. So,
and that's the story that this history play will cover in all or part?
Yes.
In most, yep.
Okay.
It follows kind of leading up to him being arrested and through that and the kidnappings and everything like that. So
yeah, there's a lot of really interesting history in the play about Alvin Carpus and how he got involved with the Barker gang and what they were up to.
Yeah,
like such an interesting chunk of St. Paul history that I think somehow not everybody knows about, and to have that kind of come alive on the place where some of it even happened. What a great use.
And he was the last Public Enemy #1, correct? Or
yes.
one of the last ones?
One of the last ones, yeah.
Gotcha.
Officially identified by the FBI as Public Enemy #1.
And I think I understand from our conversation earlier that was not actually tried in a courtroom because
he pled guilty.
Yeah.
Yes, and went to Alcatraz. He went to Leavenworth and then went to Alcatraz.
Wow.
And he spent most of the rest of his life in prison, got out in 1969, went and found his stash of money, and then he went and lived in Spain for another 10 years. So he was one of the smart, patient ones.
It's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
There's also, if I remember, some other stuff coming up to do with gangsters and also another favorite pastime of St. Paul, which is ghosts. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about the Ghosts and Gangsters.
We have our Gangster Ghost Tour at the end of October on the 26th.
Okay.
And we have done that for, do you know how many years?
Since about 2012.
Yeah, it's been several years. This might be our 10th year doing it. And we have our volunteers join us for that. So we have a great volunteer association that plays a lot of our ghosts, as we call them.
Yep.
So they portray different people that have been tried in Landmark Center or have had some sort of past in Landmark Center connection to it throughout the building. So guests come in and they check in, and then they are taken on a ghost tour through Landmark Center at night. We dim the lights, and it's just nice and kind of creepy and Halloween-esque. So we have that coming up too.
Cool. How, and we'll talk about kind of where to find more info later, but since you mentioned volunteers, how many volunteers do you all have, and what do they do?
We have, I think, 60 volunteers, over
Wow.
60. So, and they do a lot of different things for us, and we honestly couldn't run our programs without them. They are our check-in station. They help with the crafts. We do a lot of crafts at our programs, lots of origami and googly eyes and pipe cleaners. So they help make sure that the kids know what they're doing.
Yeah.
With that, they run our survey tables. They run our information desk during the day in the Visitor Information Center.
Wow.
They help out in the gift shop, because we have a gift shop at Landmark Center that they will staff and man for us.
Cool.
They do a lot of things. They're just absolutely wonderful. So they're great.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
They're
key
pretty essential.
that they do. So they are really key for our programming to make sure that we can run our programs to the best of our ability, because it takes a lot of people to run big programs like that. So.
Yeah, it sounds like it. The Gangsters and Ghost Tours, is that something folks should RSVP for? Or?
Yes, it is. You do have to purchase tickets for that ahead of time.
And
It
same
does
for
sell
the
out.
history play?
Yes, that will probably have tickets available at the door for that
Okay.
one. But
Cool. So we talked about your Sunday programs and kind of some of the stuff happening coming up soon here. What other programming do you have? Like, what other stuff is happening at Landmark?
our Sundays programs continue throughout the year. So we have, a Walker West student concert coming up in November, where we partner with the Walker West School, and they bring the kids in and they do music and the cortile for us and with us. And then in December we have virtual Christmas stories with JB Eckert, one of our wonderful volunteers, and we film them in advance and he writes them. They're all original stories.
Oh, wow.
So they're not your typical Christmas stories. They're things that he has come up with and written for us.
Very cool.
So those will be out in early December online through our website and YouTube pages. And then in December we have Santa's Workshop that we've been doing for years, where families and kids can come in and take a free photo with Santa. So we have Santa Claus there, and they can meet him and tell him all about what they want. We also have Fantasy Corral is a great partner of ours, and they bring in animals that are like nativity animals or
Oh, wow.
manger animals.
Yep.
I didn't tell you that before. Sorry. See, we forget things. So we bring animals into Landmark Center. So
Yeah.
you might see, I don't know,
Donkeys
is there
A llama.
donkeys,
Sheep
a llama,
and-
maybe a goat.
Lots of goats.
Always goats. We
Yep.
have lots of goats at
Yep.
Landmark
Some
Center.
things you might
sometimes.
not expect to see at Landmark Center.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Over in the north end of the building. So,
Yep.
so we have those Sundays at Landmark programs coming up. And then we have our concert series that we do every fall. Landmark Live is going on now. We had our first concert in September with Ray Bonneville, and then we have Annie Mac coming up on October 21st.
Cool.
And then in November we have Turn, 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 and December is Barley Jacks. So that's more of kind of an adult focused
Right.
program.
And that sounds like kind of roots, folk,
Mm-hmm.
kind of that sort of music?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yep. It actually started with Red House Records.
Oh, yeah.
Right here from St. Paul, not far from here.
Yeah.
And we started doing that series in 2011, I think was our first year of that, focused on Red House Records artists.
Gotcha.
So, and when Red House then went, it was sold to a Nashville company actually. Then it changed to Landmark Live, but still has the same focus.
So now you program it yourselves instead of in conjunction with the label.
Right, correct.
Cool. Yeah, that was as you were saying with Red House. It's like, are they still still
Yeah,
operating?
they were great.
Yeah.
They were a great record label,
Yeah.
local record label.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Greg Brown. We were just talking about the other night with some friends about Greg Brown and Bo Ramsey, and they were big. It's a huge part of the Red House stable. So yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the other arts? Because I know this is event-based stuff, but there's also there's gallery space. There's kind of other exhibitions happening as well, right?
Yeah. Yes, our organizations in the building also do ongoing daily programming. So you could come in at any day and visit the Schubert Museum, which is focused on musical instruments, but they also have a collection of rare manuscripts from the composers, so you never know what you might see there. Yeah. And they just had a renovation of their space, so it's worth coming down and seeing their space again. The Gallery of Wood Art, which is run by the American Association of Woodturners, is also on second floor, is open for touring. The Ramsey County Historical Society has a small gallery space on first floor. They also run a research center, so you can go and look up, if you have a house in St. Paul, you can go find your building permit, take a look at the history of your...
You might have to do that.
Yeah. And then we run a small gallery called the North Gallery on the north end of the building. It has usually arts exhibits in it, but it also has had historical exhibits, focused exhibits in there too. And we have a new artist, he was just moving his artwork in today, Richard Cottle.
We walked out.
That'll be opening just in early October.
Yep, this weekend I believe they're opening, so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then the building itself, of course, being an old federal building, you can come in and you can walk through all the courtrooms. They're still there. We have 4 courtrooms that are available for viewing. There's a building-wide exhibit called Uncle Sam Worked Here, where you can learn about the history of Landmark Center when it was a courthouse, and the post office, which actually a lot of people will come in and say, I remember coming and mailing letters at Landmark Center when it was a post office, pre-1974. The post office moved out, was the last federal organization to move out of Landmark Center in 1974.
Wow. So if folks want to just come and walk around in the building, are you open kind of 7 days a week? Like what hours can people come and just check it out?
Yeah, we're open 7 days a week. We're open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and 12 to 5 on Sunday. So all public hours, there's no charge. You can come browse the building, relax. We have an art collection in Landmark Center too, permanent art collection. So you can browse the art in the building, you can learn a little bit of history, you can visit the Schubert Museum, visit the Gallery of Wood Art. There's a lot of things to do.
We have a great visual arts guide too at our information desk to kind of lead people through the art, where it's at and what the history is. And then we also do free building tours on Sundays at 12:30. So
cool.
People just check in at the information desk, and then a guide would lead them through the building to tell them the history of the building and all that good stuff. So
how do you program, or I guess dual question, the visual art in the building? Is that Minnesota artists? Is it historical? And does it switch up? Or you talked about the permanent collection. I'm just curious, like if folks are coming to see the art, what are they going to see?
So the artist, we have a curator who runs the North Gallery. So that person determines what's going to go into the gallery. So I think Richard's exhibit is up for 3 weeks or so.
3 or 4 weeks.
And then she has other artists lined up coming up. Over the summer, we did an exhibit with the Latvian Association, and that was in conjunction with a big festival that they were doing in St. Paul. And their exhibit was in Landmark Center, and they also did some programming in Landmark Center as well as at the Ordway. So it kind of depends on the opportunity as well. In the spring, we did an exhibit with one of our tenant organizations, the Heritage Organization of Romanian Americans.
Oh, wow.
And it was a very big exhibit called Spring Traditions. And they, too, have an area on the 3rd floor of Landmark Center that talks about Romanian culture in Minnesota. So that's also available. Their hours, I think, are Sundays.
They're usually here on Sundays, and often they'll do programming on Sundays as well. So they've done, different tastes of Romania kind of thing and whatnot in the past. So
very cool. So it sounds like you could show up, once a month at least, and see new things. Yeah, it's
Definitely.
rotating that much.
Yes.
Very cool. What else? I think we've covered somehow a bunch of your programming. What are we missing? Is there more?
So we have a big holiday market every December. Yes. So December 1st through the 3rd is our 44th annual holiday bazaar. So we fill Landmark Center up with amazing, artisans that come in and they make their own items and sell them. And then we also have, holiday music and things like that. So that's December 1st through the 3rd, and that's a big event. We'll have over 60 vendors, somewhere between probably 70 and 80-ish, probably. Lots of interest this year, which is great post-COVID.
Yeah.
And then we have Ballet Tuesdays that we do with Ballet Collaboratory in the cities here, where they're on certain Tuesdays during the year, they'll come in and they'll teach the kids some of their dance moves and show excerpts from their upcoming performances. So we have that as well over the lunch hours at noon, like
cool.
the second Tuesdays of several months. So.
So it sounds like Landmark Center, more so than I even thought, is a good spot to just stop by on your lunch break, stop in if you're visiting downtown St. Paul.
Yep.
Yeah. Are you all involved with the Winter Carnival? Do you have some?
Yes.
We were just talking about Winter Carnival.
We were just talking
earlier.
about Winter Carnival on the way here. St. Paul Festival and Heritage Foundation is in the building.
Okay.
And Landmark Center has always kind of served as the King's Castle.
Gotcha.
So they are planning out the upcoming St. Paul Winter Carnival.
No spoilers, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Their activities definitely going to be happening there as well as all over town. So
And you have a skating rink as well in the winter, right?
Not anymore.
not anymore. That was Winter Skate,
Uh-huh.
and that ended. It was pre-COVID.
Okay.
Maybe 2017 was the last
Gotcha.
year. Yeah. But we're right on Rice Park, lovely Rice Park. And of course, the twinkle lights that everybody loves in downtown St. Paul are especially beautiful in Rice Park. And there is usually a tree event, a Rice Park lighting event in November. So that's coming up
Cool.
too. Yeah. We're involved with the local Rice Park Association, which is our neighborhood organization. And we just finished up Summer Nights in Rice, which was a concert series that started in the summer and ended in September. So
Awesome. Yeah.
Fun
so
things
also
too there.
Good opportunities to be around Landmark Center.
absolutely.
outside.
Yeah, and I guess since we're talking about that, I'm sure the Ordway would love a plug for the event they're doing in the park this coming Saturday, Inside Out is what it's called.
Okay.
And I think it starts at 8, and so they'll be doing music in the park,
Oh, lovely.
pulling what the Ordway does inside into
Yeah.
the park.
Right.
So encourage
Yeah.
people to check that out. It's on the Ordway website.
Awesome. So speaking of Ordway's website, what's your website? Where can folks go to find more information?
Our website's landmarkcenter.org. That's where you'll find all of our events, some history about the building, the online visual arts guide, things of that nature. And then we can be found on all of the main social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Landmark Center. So.
Awesome. At Landmark Center. Cool. And if folks want to volunteer, is that where they can also find info?
They can. So they can message us, my email address is on the
Yeah.
website, or we do have a volunteer and visitor services manager that manages all of our volunteers if people are interested in joining our amazing crew of volunteers.
Being a part of that art and history and culture downtown St. Paul.
Yep.
Nice.
Only if they like googly eyes. No, just kidding.
Googly eyes and pipe cleaners are a prerequisite.
That's right.
No. If people don't like, working with kids for some reason or anything like that, or there's always something for our volunteers to do. So
Yeah,
we
nice.
embrace most people, all people. So
Yeah, we have a great committed core of volunteers, and would love to have more.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, volunteers make it happen.
they really do.
They
for
do,
us.
absolutely.
Amy, Alicia, thank you so much for your time and for your work with Landmark Center. It's such a key part of downtown St. Paul. So I hope folks who are watching this will come and visit and see what y'all have on offer.
Great.
Thank you for having
Martin.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have been tuned in to the SPNN Forum live in the Kwame McDonald studio at St. Paul Neighborhood Network. We have been here with Amy Mino and Alicia, dang it.
Alicia, dang it.
So we're going to come right back to here.
So close.
So close, almost got out of it. Should we try that again? Okay. We have been here at the SPNN Forum in the Kwame McDonald studio at St. Paul Neighborhood Network with Amy Mino and Alicia Wiseneth from Minnesota Landmarks, and they program Landmark Center downtown St. Paul. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks.